Nadolig Llawen, and a very warm welcome to Match Day Live. Boxing Day action here at the Stoke Kairas. Wrexham entertaining Sheffield United, the traditional post-Christmas treat. This one a 5:30 UK kickoff. And I'm delighted to say manager Phil Parkinson is already alongside me on Match Day Live. Festive greetings to you, Phil. Hope you enjoyed the day yesterday.
Thank you, and to you. Good day, but obviously there's always a focus on the Christmas period, and looking forward to tonight's game.
What did it look like for the players yesterday? Did they have any training?
Yeah, no, we trained 3 days prior to yesterday, and the ones who had little knocks saw Kev, and just give everybody a break, trying to freshen everybody up for this.
Now, 2 changes in your side tonight. Matty James coming in for George Dobson, and Nathan Broadhead coming in place of James McLean. So it looks like a change of system. Talk us through it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Jimmy's self-explanatory, and Matty, Matty and Shifo, have had some good games in there together, we just picked the team we feel is right for the game. Obviously got some Rodriguez and Kakachi back on the bench today, which is good news. Obviously with Libby, just a little bit too soon for him to start, and I've just got to be careful with him, but it's good to get him back on the bench.
I'm sure the fans will be excited, Phil, to see the opportunity of Moore and Broadhead and Windass all starting a game for the first time. What kind of system can we expect to see them deployed in?
Yeah, I think what we've done before, obviously we've mixed it up at the top of the pitch, 3-4-3 or 3-4-1-2, and we've got that flexibility with those 3 players, and we just kind of worked on both shapes this week, and they're all in good shape to start the game. Brody didn't start last week, but obviously there's a lot of matches coming up, and we just felt today was the right game to go with the 3 of them at the top of the pitch.
Chris Wilder in the opposition dugout, a man you've known for most of your footballing life, Phil, and he's got a side on a decent run at the moment. They're unchanged today, the Blades. What sort of threats do you expect them to bring? Yeah,
I mean, I saw them last week live at Sheffield United Birmingham. Difficult game to judge them really, because Birmingham got a player sent off quite early. I think the threats are the obvious ones really. Hamer obviously is a key player for them. Obviously Bamford's come in and done well. Yes, they've got some good players, but so is every team in the division, like ourselves. And they're a team who was in the playoff final last year, so it doesn't surprise me that they've got a decent run, and it'll be a good game. It'll be very competitive. It always is when we come up against Chris, and we've had some great battles over the years at several different clubs, and tonight will be no different.
Phil, thanks so much for joining us on Matchday Live. All the very best for the game.
Cheers, thank you.
Wrexham manager Phil Parkinson giving his perspective and his thoughts on the Wrexham team tonight, because he makes 2 changes from the side beaten at Swansea City last Friday. That's a return for Matty James. He comes in midfield for George Dobson. And in attack, Broadhead and Windass both start behind Kiefer Moore. James McLean dropping out, so it looks like it could be 3-4-2-1, the Wrexham system. Well, it's Christmas. We were hoping for 3 wise men today, but we've got at least one of them in Andy Morell.
Not sure.
Good to see him. And our very own Angel Gabriel in Mia Roberts. Good to see you both. How was yesterday, Andy?
It was okay, very, very quiet. Family round, mum and dad, etc., and a few presents opened, and a very nice meal by the wife. So, all in all, very nice.
I bet you don't miss training on Christmas morning?
Not one bit, or going out for a run, or travelling around the country to away games. So, it's just nice to have that back in our lives that we missed for 20, 25 years when we were managing and playing. So, all good yesterday.
Mia, this is always that exciting time just post-Christmas, isn't it, when games come so quickly. And Sheffield United, the informed team in this division, or certainly one of the top couple, 5 wins from their last 7 games. Wrexham having a bit of a difficult time of it of late in finding that elusive victory. This is going to be a tough test this afternoon.
It is going to be a massive tough test, like you say. I think in the last 8, they've gained the most points, conceded the fewest goals. So, if, at the moment they are that informed team. But we've said it so many times already this season, and number of times, obviously, over the past few years, that this team love to respond. Phil Parkinson's teams love to respond to poor performances, and sadly that's what it was away at Swansea. But I think tonight's another real opportunity, sort of mirrors that post Cardiff defeat, and then the game on the Friday night against Coventry, where obviously they certainly did turn up, didn't they? So hopefully same result again tonight.
Now, we were just touching on the Wrexham team with Phil Parkinson as we came on air. He hasn't before deployed both Broadhead and Windass behind Moore. Why tonight?
Listen, I don't think there had to be a response, like I said, from Swansea. I think that's numerous times now we've been to these big games in the Championship and not created anywhere near enough. I think it was one shot on target that night. You can argue it could have ended up like an Ipswich, where we come away with a point, and you say it was a bit of a masterclass away from home. But I think back at home tonight, under the lights, I think people want to see a bit more from this Wrexham attack. And yeah, first start for that trio of Moore, Windass and Broadhead, and hopefully they can deliver.
Andy, Phil tinkered a little bit with his trusted 3-5-2 earlier in the season. Then he's gone back to it primarily in recent weeks. Do you think this will be a box midfield setup tonight?
Yeah, it looks that way. I think Thomason will be left wing back for today. Hopefully he's got the energy to play that role. But then he's putting Sheaf and James, Sheaf and James in together, who have played together a lot, and they really enjoy having the ball, which is going to be great. And then good, we've got 3 attacking footballers on the pitch, and hopefully they can combine and create spaces for Kiefer, and to create a bit of control in a game, really, for me, that we enable our wing backs then to get up the pitch and help the strikers, because we haven't created enough in the last few games, especially away from home. But being at home today, I think it gives them a real opportunity to go on then, let's prove people wrong, and let's go and prove what good team we are.
Well, Wrexham, of course, will try and get on the front foot against Sheffield United this evening, but Sheffield United bring plenty of threat themselves, and we've got a chance to have a look at one of those in our head-to-head now. It's Patrick Bamford tonight who is going to be causing a headache or two perhaps for Dom Hyam. Let's have a look at these two players now in focus, because they're both highly experienced players at this level. Hyam coming in from Blackburn Rovers at the start of this season, having played a handful of games up at Ewood Park at the start. He's then come in at centre-back, and now in that central centre-back role with Doyle to the left of him and Cleworth to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you, or something like that. But Bamford is a serious threat, isn't he, Mia? He's a top-class striker, and he's done it at this level for many seasons, particularly at Leeds United.
Yeah, he's a top player. I think, he was someone, obviously there was a bit of sort of a narrative with him and Chris Wilder in the past, and they certainly quashed that as soon as they could, as soon as he walked through the door at Sheffield United this season. And, I think he's already got 3 goals to his name and proven his worth, really. I think he is that sort of Kiefer Moore replacement that they were looking for this year. Obviously, Sellers came in and wanted to play a different sort of style of football, and then obviously Wilder's come back and said, no, we're going back to what we were doing last year, which got them into that playoff final, which obviously they lost out on that day. But, that's working so far. Obviously, since he's come in, the results have turned around and they've picked up again. And a big part of that is Patrick Bamford up top.
Yeah, I think he's quality, and it was a surprise that he didn't have a club, earlier in the season, really, because he brings you effort and he brings you goals, and we've seen some of the goals he scored in the Premier League are a real quality. What I love about it is that they've been able to just put that feistiness between them that they've had in the past, and the songs about each other and all that. I love how Chris has just managed that situation and just gone, no, bygones be bygones. We know what football's like. Little hug it out. Come on, you can come and play for me and really do well for me. And he's gone to a place that he's going to be loved, I'm sure.
And Bamford's still on a short-term arrangement, Andy, which I think comes to an end next month. So he'll be looking to make sure he extends that and carries on deep into the second half of the season at Sheffield United.
Yeah, well, it keeps him hungry as well. He's been talked about injuries, etc., over the past few seasons, whether he can maintain that fitness and stay fit for a majority of time. I think that little short-term contract, it makes him even more real to prove that he's got that in his locker. And I think that short-term contract, then they look at it at the end and go, yeah, well, he's been fit for every game, right? Let's extend it to the end of the season. And then you extend again, probably at the end of the season, if he can stay fit for the rest of it. So a good way of managing him, really.
And as you say, Mia, Sheffield United in such good form at the moment. Do you think there's a little bit of Phil Parkinson's selection which is kind of fight fire with fire, rather than say, well, we're going to try and absorb and let them have a bit more of the ball, actually saying, well, I'm going to get on the front foot here tonight and I'm going to go in with 3 out-and-out strikers?
Yeah, I think so, definitely. I think, like Andy said, back at home, you want to do that in front of your home fans and try and turn it around, especially as we go into now this really busy festive period. We haven't right now got the momentum behind us, but if you win tonight, suddenly you're looking at Preston and obviously Blackburn thinking, do you know what, if we can win those, as we stand, we're in 15th, but you're only 7 points off playoffs, and this is a really vital time now for this side to really see what they can do when the tough gets going. And I think, Kakache back on the bench. We've got a number of players coming back. Obviously, Jay Rodriguez back in the side. It could be the start of a sort of new phase for this season. I think that's really exciting.
Well, Wrexham will certainly be hoping that last Friday's trip to Swansea was the end of the previous phase, because it proved a very difficult night in southwest Wales. Things got off to a positive start, but in the end, Wrexham were left contemplating a long journey home with no points in the bank. Let's have a reminder of how things played out at the Swansea.com stadium.
That's a nice idea. It's a great ball. Longman down the right-hand side, picked up by Dobson. Moore attacks the 6-yard box. Longman is going to take on his man, cuts inside, sweeps it in, and it's there! An own goal! Wrexham take the lead. Burgess heading it powerfully into the top right corner. That glorious pass by Dobson. Galbraith once more. Wrexham has stepped out into that mid-block. That's a lovely ball down the right channel. Ronald tries it again. Launches it over. Tries the Marco van Basten, but doesn't get it right. Gets it back again in the centre circle. Pings a good-looking ball towards Vipotnik. Hyam on the stretch. Can't get much on it. And Widmer hits a great shot, which is tipped over well by Okonkwo. Swept under the bar, nasty one, header in towards goal, and in the end it's put over the bar from close range. Cuts back inside, sweeps a good ball, poor touch, but it'll fall for a shot which Okonkwo gets right behind. Back out wide, Anusa running at McLean again. The fans are anxious, urging him to drive it in the box. He takes on McLean, puts a nasty cross beyond the far post. Again, Swansea are shouting for a free kick. We're in trouble there for a moment as Windass breaks forward and plays a lovely ball towards Thomason, who beats Figueroa to it. It spins towards goal and it's tucked away. I think that was going wide. Ball works over to the right side. Galbraith again on the halfway, then lifts a nice idea. Look at Anusa. It's just under his, is it? Well, Okonkwo's just got there first and saved it. The crowd are up asking for a penalty. Gosh, they ask for everything, don't they? From Cleworth once more. Ball fed down the left-hand side. Can a cross come in? Moore is the defender. He can't stop the cross coming in.
Well, hello there. Rob. Well, hello there. Rob McElhenney here.
And Ryan Reynolds here.
Both super excited to introduce you to
the Wrexham AFC Foundation.
Take it away, Humphrey.
The Wrexham AFC Foundation is the club's official charity. It's the way we give back to the community who have given and continue to give so much to us. Across Wrexham, North Wales and the world, our foundation focuses its delivery on children, young people and young adults. Using the power of football and love of Wrexham AFC, our targeted delivery supports learning, improves health, creates equal opportunities and strengthens communities. It ensures we connect with the community, provide a pathway for future talent, create meaningful partnerships and provide a platform to engage with our future fan base.
With our players' support and your support, we want our foundation to become one of the world's leading social responsibility programs.
Together we will change the lives of young people in North Wales and beyond.
Wrexham AFC, always community first.
Well, it ended so badly at the Swansea.com stadium last week, we didn't really think that you wanted to see it again, hence why we cut off that little highlights reel a little bit early. But as you can probably remember, it was a disappointing end to proceedings. Arthur Okonkwo spilling that late high ball and Adam Eder taking advantage from close range. So no dividends mere from that trip to southwest Wales. But I thought one thing that was very apparent was at full time the players rallying around Okonkwo, because he'd been so good in so many matches this season. And I'm afraid, unfortunately, as a goalkeeper, there is just no hiding place at times when the odd error does occur.
Yeah, and you know, it's a real shame because obviously there would have been extra eyes probably on that game, it being Friday night, obviously the Welsh connection in there as well. And you know, it is so frustrating because he has been so good for us, not just this season but over his time here at the club. So you know, a real tough one for him. But like you say, he's got a good squad around him who I'm sure will be picking him up and reminding him, actually, you know what, you've rescued a few points for us already this season, so don't beat yourself up about that one, because those can happen as a goalkeeper. We know that they just get probably blown out a bit more in proportion compared to maybe when a mistake is made further up the field or whatever. So yeah, I felt for him that night because it was a real tough one, but I think in the end as well, you had to give credit to Swansea, because I think they were obviously the better team that night and probably deserved the 3 points. Maybe you could argue that it could have been a 1-1 or whatever, but they went right to the end and really gave it everything, and were always going to cause us problems.
Yeah, with Arthur, I think he's just going to have to show what resilience he does have when he's going to make a mistake. He's going to make more mistakes in his career. He's got a long career ahead of him, and he's going to make these types of errors. How do you react to them is going to be where and how far he can go in the game, and I'm hoping for a real good, strong performance. Really basic, keep it simple, but just do your job really, really well, and just get back on the horse, if you like.
Watching the game, Andy, I felt that Wrexham's press was really strong in the first 20 minutes. They looked right on it, but then that seemed to release and they couldn't kind of get that authority back again. Where do you think the drop-off occurred, and why?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I think it was the goal that came. We score fortuitously, heads it in his own net, great. But then we tend to become really passive in our press then and just sat back in our shape. And when you do that, any team at this level can possess you and move the ball quickly and create chances. And I just felt we just dropped off them a bit. What you want when you go 1-0 up is to go again and really put the press on. Don't give them a sniff at all. And I just felt we didn't do that. And we've lost quite a few points now from being in winning positions, maybe because of that fear of we go ahead, right, well, I'll just defend that. No, we've got to go and get on that front foot again and then take the game continually to the opposition. When we're like that, I think we're a challenge for any team in this level.
The points lost from winning positions, Mia, is starting to become a bit of a theme, isn't it? How do you think Phil Parkinson will look to address that?
I think part of it is what we see tonight is that, like Andy says, having more of an impetus to go for more, go again, and I think we are top of that table sadly at the moment for most points dropped from a winning position, which is where you absolutely don't want to be, especially for considering how much we've credited this defence since that sort of changed up after a rocky start to the season. But I think it's exactly that. For Swansea and a few weeks prior, I think maybe you could question that maybe that midfield was a little bit too cautious. I think we've been missing desperately, obviously wing backs, which we'll probably get onto, but also whether it's an Ollie Rathbone or Lewis O'Brien in one of those middle three. Obviously tonight it's Ben Sheaf and Matty James as the two, and then we've got someone like Windass or Broadhead in front that can go and join that front two as well. But we haven't had that in the last few weeks, and I think that's just where, when we were winning back that ball just on the turnaround, we weren't able to maintain it and cause that counter attack. It was breaking down because we were forcing it into Kiefer Moore far too often, and he can't win all of them, sadly.
Well, tonight, Wrexham squaring up to Sheffield United in this 5:30 kick-off. And that means for Phil Parkinson the chance to square up again to a man who he's come across many times in different phases of his football career. Chris Wilder and Phil Parkinson were young players together at the very start of their days at Southampton. And Wilder is now in his third spell managing Sheffield United. As you can see on our on-screen graphic, he was initially a player for the Blades in the later 80s and early 90s, making 83 appearances. He went off, played his football elsewhere and came back for a second shorter stint just before the millennium. But really it was the third chapter of his involvement with the Blades that led to his prominence, because he was able to win promotion from League One in 16-17 and then go up into the Premier League as Championship runners-up in 18-19. They spent time at the top table. The Premier League was an opportunity that Wilder really embraced, taking them to 9th position in the third spell there. He then had another crack as manager, which came to an end in May with defeat in the playoff final, but he returned for a 5th chapter in September. He really is Mr. Sheffield United, a Sheffield lad, a Sheffield United supporter, player and 3 times the manager. And I think, Andy, it's worth just dropping in a little bit in the last few months at Sheffield United just to see exactly what's gone on since that Championship playoff final back in May, because it looked at that point that Wilder's time at the club was coming to an end, because that match was lost to Sunderland in the playoff final. Kiefer Moore playing for Sheffield United in that game. The following month, Wilder left the club by mutual consent. That was on the 18th of June. Ruben Selles was announced that day as the new manager, coming in from Hull. But Sheffield United then lost their 5 opening games of the season, and after 3 months, Selles was shown the door. And who returns? Just 3 months after departing the club, him again, Chris Wilder. How can it be, Andy, that we get these stories in football? Darren Ferguson at Peterborough, your old friend, would be another one, where managers can't seem to ever leave a club. It's a bit like Hotel California. You know they're always going to come back again.
Well, Chris Wilder, he bleeds red and white, doesn't he? Player, manager, fan, and I think he gets the fans, and I think that's where the owners see the connection with him, is that he brings the fans on board straight away when he comes into the job. He's a very, very good manager. I know him personally. I've had him as my assistant manager when I was at Bury. Alan Nill was the manager of my manager. He's his assistant now, so they've role reversaled, and it was always a bit strange when we were there, because Chris was always the man manager, the one that was really getting us going, the motivator, if you like, and Nilly was always the football, the side of it, the coaching. And so then when they swapped, it became a really force to be reckoned with as a staff. He's brilliant at man management. He's right in with the group. He gets you playing for the club. And when you've got that and the way that he is with this football club, there's no stopping him, I don't think. And that's why he's been so successful here, because the fans are right on board with him straight away.
And he's quite an innovator, Mia, isn't he? I remember when Sheffield United had that season of coming 9th in the Premier League, he was playing overlapping centre-backs, which I don't think anyone had even heard of before, let alone seen it practised. And I guess as a manager, that's what you've got to keep doing, refreshing your thinking, updating your systems, and ensuring that your teams, even if you've not got the most resources relative to your level, are a bit of an unexpected package for the opposition to contemplate.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially for an English manager to be doing that. I don't think there's too many of them around right now as we speak, and that's been a sort of conversation subject that a lot of people have touched on over the last few years. So great to see him still doing so well. Him and Phil Parkinson, 2 oldest managers in the Championship. Not probably a stat they'll both want to hear tonight, but it is one. And yeah, I think he deserves massive credit. I think we've touched on it before, talking about managers, about how it is a rarity now where you see a manager at a club for a long period of time, and to see that. Obviously, Phil Parkinson and Chris Wilder both know these clubs so well, and that can only benefit, like Andy says, with that player management, explaining what it means to pull on that shirt and represent that club. And I think the ownership deserve a bit of credit as well for actually holding their hands up and going, listen, we got the Sellers one completely wrong. Wilder, you're coming back, because that's not necessarily an easy thing to do for owners nowadays. We've seen that in football where they're quite confident in themselves and want to say, actually, no, we haven't made a mistake. So to do that, and obviously it was going to please the fans.
I think the owners wanted to go to a more fluent, open, attractive football, if you like. And Chris Wilder's a little bit more old school. Play forward if you can, get it in the box if you can. It just doesn't work sometimes, especially when you've got the players inherited from a person that plays that way. And it just didn't work out for Sellers. I think a few of the personnel weren't quite right for him. And when you've got that loss and that Chris Wilder's in the background somewhere, it's really, really tough for a manager. But I don't know really why they got rid of him in the first place. They should have just kept him, because they're so close.
Yeah,
and you can go again.
Which can go either way on the
Absolutely.
day. Bit of luck.
Yeah, and so why not go with them again? Give them what they want, a couple more players to get you not just third, but second and first. But hey, these owners, they've got a different way of thinking to us, I think.
Well, it proved an expensive mistake, but at least one they rectified. Sheffield United arriving here, the form team in the Championship, 5 wins in their last 7 games. They are unchanged for tonight's match against Wrexham, who make 2 alterations from the team beaten at Swansea City. Matty James back into midfield for George Dobson, who switches to the bench, and James McLean suspended for this one, intriguingly replaced by Nathan Broadhead. It looks very much like Wrexham going for a 3-4-2-1 system with Windass and Broadhead in support of Kiefer Moore. Well, it might be 43 years since these 2 teams have squared up in a league fixture, but in recent seasons they have played each other in 3 tasty cup ties. Last year there was a Carabao Cup battle at Bramall Lane that the Blades came out in top of by 4 goals to 1. But back in January 2023, an epic FA Cup 4th round tie here at the racecourse. It'll go down as one of the most famous FA Cup nights at this famous old stadium. Here's a reminder of how it played out. Wrexham were a National League outfit back in January 2023 when Sheffield United, flying high in the Championship at the time, arrived at the Stoke Kairas for this FA Cup fourth round tie. And within a minute, it looked like things were going to follow the form book. McBurney's header at the near post beyond Mark Howard, and Wrexham losing Jordan Tunnicliffe and Aaron Hayden within the first 11 minutes. Two centre-backs down, they held out for the rest of the first half, and trailing by just one at the interval, they levelled matters 5 minutes into the second. James Jones, the quickest to react to Ben Tozer's long throw. Tozer's throw, a serious weapon for Wrexham at the time, and from Tom O'Connor's flick, Jones turning the ball beyond keeper Davis. Was this going to be the start of another famous Wrexham night in the FA Cup? Well, 10 minutes later, that looked like the script that was about to be written. O'Connor, having been the provider for Jones, drilling the ball home to give Wrexham a shock lead. 61 minutes played, and the racecourse into raptures. A long time still to hold out, but belief had turned into possibility, and O'Connor gave them that chance. In truth, though, holding on against a team flying so high in the Championship in this particular season was always going to be a tough task for Wrexham's makeshift defence, and it was all square again in the 65th minute. Wrexham struggling to clear, and Oliver Norwood slamming the ball home. McFadden couldn't get enough on his header, Cleworth couldn't get enough purchase on his clearance, Tozer a bit unlucky, Norwood clinical. But 20 minutes from time, a gift. Daniel Jebison dismissed for an off-the-ball incident with Ben Tozer. Was this the opportunity for Wrexham to go on and win the game? Paul Mullin certainly sensed the chance, releasing Sam Dolby before continuing his run into the box. His neat feet ensuring Wrexham had a lead once more. 28 for the season from Mullin, and his 8th in the FA Cup run. In the 86th minute, it looked for all money like this was going to complete a famous night for the Red Dragons. Mullin decisive, but sadly not quite enough. Right at the death, deep into injury time, John Egan arriving at the far post to silence the racecourse, levelling the match despite Mark Howard's best efforts to keep it out. It was to be a bittersweet full-time whistle for Wrexham. A heroic performance with a depleted side, but ultimately a drawn game. Sheffield United would go on to win the replay at Bramall Lane 3-1 and go on to face Tottenham Hotspur in round 5.
So today we're in Kaya Park as part of our Gift the Ball campaign. Gift the Ball campaign is around providing children in the community with a football at Christmas, and the campaign's been absolutely fantastic. The generosity of the fans, the club staff, the players and also the academy lads has just been brilliant, and it's enabled us to put 300 footballs at the feet of 300 children across Wrexham.
I think for us, me, Max and Connor coming down here today, kind of just seeing the kids having, as much fun as they possibly can. I think it's a great thing that the club are doing, and we've just come down to try and give a helping hand. We've been told about it being a deprived area, and I think sometimes that just showing the faces and just showing that people care, just showing that Wrexham are here, trying to help the community, and the fact that obviously they do get a little bit of a gift, I think it will go, a very, very long way. So I think for us as a football club, as us players, to be able to have the opportunity to help, we'll always be able to do that.
I think when the players turn up to any event, I said it the other day, that it's like bringing a superpower, a superhero to your actual event. It's something that you remember for the rest of your life as a young child, the first time that you met the players. We're only, a couple of miles away from the racecourse here, and these guys will remember it for the rest of their life, that Max, Connor and Matty came down, took part in a session and gave them a football. It's lifelong memories, isn't it? So we're lucky to be part of a football club that allow the players to engage in the community so much. It's not just about the football being given away. That football's going to be used over and over again. Those kids are going to use it to stay active. They're going to use it to bring people together. It's what we're all here for is, like I said, a football club that brings the community together, and without a football, we can't do that.
Well, welcome back to Matchday Live. I'm so sorry for so many technical problems in today's pre-match broadcast. There's been a couple of power failures here at the Stoke Kairas, which we have been trying to work around as best we can. But thank you for sticking with us. We've got Nat Clark and Gemma Owen, who are totally blameless in the loss of Matchday Live pictures today.
They arrived and it all went out.
You just didn't want to listen to us, did you?
I can't comment on that, Gemma. But lovely to see you both. Thank you much.
It's
It's been really super to have you both with us. Gemma, let's just start with an overview on the season so far as we move past Christmas. It couldn't have gone much better for you, on or off the field.
It's been incredible, and that's a huge testament to players like Nat, the rest of her teammates, the rest of the staff. There's a lot of hard work, as we all know, that goes on behind the scenes to enable the team to go and do what they do best out on the pitch, and both sort of sets of the department there have just been phenomenal up to this point, and we thoroughly deserve to be where we are right now, I think.
Nat, you joined the club last season. That was the season obviously under Steve Dale, and now Jenny Sugarman arrived in the summer. What's been different in the dressing room this time around?
I think the togetherness that we've got in the group this year is massive. We're all on the same page and we're all striving for the same thing, which is to win as much as possible. And I think everybody knows the one goal, and we are, as I say, we are all together, and it's a brilliant place to be as well.
And that, obviously, last game Penabont in the Cup on the 21st. Next game, not till the 4th of Jan, Cardiff, big one. How as players, how are you keeping fit in this little festive break you've got now?
Yeah, we've had to be doing running today, believe it or not. So we've been in today. We have got a friendly lined up on Sunday just to keep us ticking over, just to make sure that we're implementing the right things for Cardiff. Nothing changes, it's just another game as well to tick off on the sheet, but I think we all know what we need to do to make sure that we're ready for that game come Cardiff.
And Gemma, to be top of the tree at Christmas, I mean, obviously that's not something this club have done before now, to get above, your Cardiff, your Swanseas. How did that make you feel?
I think it's really good. Obviously we're very proud to be where we are, and as I mentioned before, it's not, it's due to a lot of hard work. It's not by luck that we're there, but equally we realise that the season is not finished yet. We've still got a lot of work to do, a long way to go, and we're not taking anything for granted. We're obviously happy to be where we are, but yeah, we're fully aware of what's still to come and what we've got to do. So yeah, job's not done at all.
I know it was a big effort, Gemma, from everyone to get the Rock operational again, but having now had a few games there, how's it settled down in terms of its infrastructure?
Again, there's a long way to go with that, and it's nowhere near finished and to where we want it to be. But there's a lot of work already gone on behind the scenes to get it to this point. Still a lot still to do, but it just means the absolute world to us to be there and for it to be ours and for it to feel like a home. And I think that goes a long way. Hopefully Nat will testify to that as well, that having somewhere that we feel we belong is a huge step forward and will allow us to really kick on, I think.
And Nat, although you've had great form this season with just that one defeat to TNS, in a number of matches you've had to come from behind. As Mia alluded to, you had to come through with a penalty shootout as well against Aberystwyth in the cup tie recently. Is there something there about a different mentality in the squad to win those kind of games?
I think the mentality is the word that I'd use. I think everybody knows how to win games, and I think when you have that winning feeling and players know how to get through games when it's tough, so you're not winning games 4 or 5-0 when it's really starting gritty and you have to grind out results. I think that's a perfect place for us to be, and we're able to do it at the moment, and I think long may it continue.
And that's something I was going to come back to, that you said about that togetherness, and obviously over the last couple of seasons, obviously yourself coming into the side, we've seen some great acquisitions this year, obviously Katie Barker, Jodie Bartle. How have you sort of gelled? How have you made that happen in a relatively short space of time?
Yeah, I think we've brought in so many talented players this season especially, and it did take us a while to gel, and I think it probably saw towards pre-season. I think that emulated it a little bit really, but I think we were able to find our feet in time for the start of the season, which was perfect. But when you bring in quality players, I think that adapts your game naturally as well, doesn't it? And you play to the standard that's around you, and I think that's helped everybody on the pitch.
And Gemma, just finally, as you look at the season ahead now, having a semi-final in front of you, a quarter-final in front of you, sitting pretty at the top of the table, have you got thoughts in your own mind of what success is going to look like now at the end of the season? And are you prepared to share them?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think it's no secret to anybody that we've had the aim to finish top, and that hasn't changed. That's the players, the staff, it's everybody involved. That is our ultimate aim and where we want to be at the end of the season. We want to be playing Champions League football next season, so that is still the ambition, it's still the aim for us. I genuinely believe we'll be there at the end of the season, and that's because of the talented players, the talented group of staff we've got there. I 100% believe that we are capable of it, and there's absolutely no reason why we won't be there at the end of the season. So yeah, looking forward to how it all pans out.
Fantastic. Well, Gemma and Nat, huge thanks for joining us on Matchday Live. Thanks for being patient while we had the technical gremlins, and we wish you all the very best here onwards this season.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Gemma Owen, the head of women's football operations here at Wrexham, and Nat Clark, one of the Wrexham women's players, giving us their thoughts ahead of today's men's match against Sheffield United, coming up in about 5 minutes' time. The players are imminently due from the tunnel before we get underway for this Boxing Day fixture. Wrexham trying to get off on winning ways again against a Sheffield United team in form in the division over the last few weeks. Mia, how important is the opening exchange going to be tonight?
Massive. I think, if we come out sort of similar, it sounds mad, but like you said earlier, I thought those first few minutes against Swansea on last Friday were really good. You need that intensity tonight. You can already hear the fans in those stands. Sheffield United are going to be loud as well. Boxing Day always promises that sort of atmosphere. But yeah, I think these players need to go out there and prove something tonight.
Mia, thank you very much for now. Mia Roberts will join Andy Morell on commentary on iFollow this evening, as ever, with Mark Griffiths. And don't forget, you've got your chance to get your faces on the fan wall, both inside the stadium here at the Stoke Kairas and also on our Matchday Live holding screens, which appear during the periods of play on this same YouTube link. So thank you to everyone who participated for the previous game in the new fan wall. I hope you enjoyed seeing yourselves. You got the chance to tell us where you're watching from and post your selfie and have the opportunity to see that go out, as I say, either on the YouTube feed or inside the stadium. Players are imminent here. It is a chilly old night at the Stoke Kairas as ever. 10,000 sellout here. The festive fans are fortunate, I'm sure, to have had their tickets. Many people, as ever, not able to get in tonight, but tuning in different ways through different means. And Wrexham hoping to get their season kick-started. This the first of 2 Christmas fixtures here. The next one against Preston North End on the 29th. That one a 7:45 kickoff. But this one is just 3 minutes or so away. Please, though, come and rejoin us here. Same link at half-time, where we'll have the chance to catch up with a player who represented both of these clubs in the 1980s. Steve Charles, who spent 5 years at Bramall Lane before 3 years here at Wrexham. Some of that time as captain. Steve will join us at half-time, and then at full-time we'll have all the post-match reaction and analysis with members of the Wrexham camp. But thank you again for your patience as we experienced a couple of power outages here at the Stoke Kairas. Enjoy the game ahead, and we'll be back, same link at half-time, to pick over the bones of the opening 45 minutes. We look forward to your company then.
Christmas dinner's over and it's that time again. You gotta back the boys and make some noise. Sheffield in the 7th minute, number 44, Jairo Riedewald. For Wrexham, number 10, Josh Windass. Sheffield in the 15th minute, number 45, Patrick Bamford. Sheffield in the 25th minute, number 10, Carol O'Hare.
Half-time at the Stoke Kairas. It's been a very eventful opening 45 minutes because it's Wrexham 2, Sheffield United 3. Do you remember pre-match we showed you the highlights from that epic 3-3 FA Cup tie a couple of seasons ago? It's felt very much like that out there. What a 45 minutes we have witnessed. We'll get the thoughts of Andy Morrell and Mia Roberts in just a moment, but let me take you through the key action because it has been non-stop pretty much from the first whistle here at the Stoke Kairas. We highlighted Patrick Bamford pre-match as the man to watch for Sheffield United, and he was the man who was straight into the action in the 7th minute, skillfully flicking the ball past Arthur Okonkwo as he got in front of Dom Hyam. That was 1-0. Didn't stay that way for very long though, just 9 minutes on the clock, and a nice knockback from Josh Windass was in the path of Kiefer Moore, but centre-back Tyler Bindon got there first. He could only though steer it past goalkeeper Michael Cooper, one each. Bamford though was keen to stay in the action. On the 15-minute mark he picked up his second. George Thomason perhaps could have done better to have blocked the cross from Femi Siriki, but Bamford stole in between Hyam and Cleworth to finish beyond Okonkwo 2-1. And it was 3-1 10 minutes after that. Callum O'Hare with a header from close range after a Kiefer Moore clearing header went straight into his path. But Moore was keen to atone for that, and just 2 minutes later he pulled Wrexham back to within one. 2-3 at this point as Moore powerfully headed home a George Thomason corner from close range. We haven't even reached the half-hour mark in the time since then. Bamford was denied his hat-trick by Okonkwo, and Ben Sheaf had a shot deflected over. Wrexham also had big claims for a penalty 5 minutes before the interval. No interest though from referee Andrew Kitchen as the ball hit Bindon on the chest. Mia Roberts, Andy Morrell, have we seen a more eventful opening 45 minutes so far this season? Mia, let me start with you. Do you think that Wrexham's changed system today has opened this game up?
Absolutely. I think just looking at that 45 minutes, I mean, going forward, I think both teams have been absolutely superb. I think you can obviously question both teams defensively, but I just think there's been such, amazing attacking intent from both sides. It just makes the game so entertaining, doesn't it? It's almost that sort of basketball action at either
felt like
end.
that, hasn't it? Yeah,
absolutely. And I think Nathan Broadhead for me has been absolutely quality in finding those positions. I said it on comms. I think just having him, giving him that little bit of extra freedom at times when we know Josh Windass is going to be maybe a little bit closer to Kiefer Moore, or if he's sort of taking up that right hand side. It leaves Broadhead so much space, and how many times have we seen it just in those 45 minutes where he's got on the ball and just made it look so easy, whether he's beaten Rivalry or Arblaster in that middle of the park and then just driven at that back line, and then maybe it's just that final bit that he just needs to get right, and you feel like Wrexham aren't too far away from getting another couple. But yeah, I just didn't want that first half to end. I thought it was just a real spectacle.
Yeah, it's two different formations, but the ethos is the same from both managers. Can they get the ball wide quickly? Can they get the ball forward, and can they get crosses in the box? And Broadhead been magnificent, but then Siriki on that side, on that right hand side, he's put some real quality in. McCallum on this side, again, some really good quality as well. Both wing backs have had their work to do, but defensively it's so difficult because the two formations are a bit different, dragging people out, dragging Max out, dragging Hyam into the middle. It's leaving gaps then in the spaces beside him for O'Hare, etc., to go and cause problems. It's been a brilliant game, really enjoyed it so far. Can Wrexham go back in, keep getting Broadhead on the ball, keep getting Windass on the ball, and what you gain in attacking threat, if you like, with the way we're playing, we maybe lose a little bit in defensive quality, and then putting out Thomason as well in wing back. He's been really good going forward, but then defensively just a little bit suspect a couple of times.
We talked about Bamford pre-match, Andy. Has that been his quality, the 2 goals he's scored, or could Wrexham have dealt with him a bit better?
No, the first one is a brilliant finish. He's read where the cross is going. He's not got a great deal of time on it, so he's read he's going to go into the space at the near post. But to finish like he did, outside of the foot, he's just got a little bit on it, used the momentum of the cross to put it in there, and it just loops over Arthur into that far corner. That's quality, that. And then he's just expecting the cross to be really good in the second goal, and he puts himself in a position right in between the two centre halves, and an inch either side, the cross doesn't get to him, but he just puts himself in a position where he just taps it in at the back post. It looks so easy, doesn't it? But his movement is quality to get him in those positions.
We're going to take a quick look at the half-time stats before we're going to bring Steve Charles into the conversation. Former Wrexham and Sheffield United man is with us today. But let's have a quick look through the stats from the first half with Mia. There have been so much in terms of incident and action throughout that first half. I wonder how all that shakes down statistically. Well, Wrexham have had the majority of the possession. It certainly felt that way with more of the activity happening in the Sheffield United half. But Sheffield United so clinical from their opportunities. Let's have a look at the defensive statistics. Just one Sheffield United corner thus far in the game. That was late in the first half. And if we have a look defensively, we can see how the teams have tried to deal with the other. But Mia, thus far, defences having not the ability to deal with the attacks they've been trying to stem.
No, and part of that is just down to sheer attacking quality. I think both sides have just been so impressive going forward. You know, pick of the bunch for Sheffield United for me has probably been Gus Hamer. I think he's been superb. Just on the ball, he's just so tidy. Got that low centre of gravity. I just think he's made life really difficult for people like Dom Hyam and Ryan Longman getting back in a couple of times. And we've seen that from both sides. Like Andy says, you've got that attacking intent to go forward, but then does that leave you a bit vulnerable at the back? It's that risk and reward. At the moment, it's Sheffield United who have had more of that reward, but hopefully that switches in the second half.
Mia, thank you very much for now. I'll let you go and get a bit of a breather before you start second half commentary. Steve Charles has come in to see us on Matchday Live. Steve, a very warm welcome.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Fantastic to see you again. You, of course, played for both of these clubs, Wrexham latterly, but initially Sheffield United. We'll come to your time at both clubs in a minute, but what did you make of that first half?
Oh, it was a cracking first half. You know, it was. I had a feeling it was going to be an exciting game today. Probably not for the purists, but certainly end-to-end and definitely entertaining. So really, really enjoyed it. And the atmosphere at the racecourse ground these days is fantastic. So, yeah, brilliant.
When was the last time you were here, Steve?
Last season. I've been coming most seasons, yeah. So I always come back. I was here last year, I think, for the Mansfield game. Because that's one of my old clubs as well.
Yeah,
so,
where you went after you finished at Wrexham, of course.
Yes, yeah, Wrexham, they were, at the time they were struggling for money and sold me to Mansfield, yeah, but I had great times at all my clubs, to be fair.
Going back, Steve, a Sheffield lad, you had offers to join Sheffield Wednesday as a youngster, but perhaps unusually in football, you picked education above an opportunity to join as a YTS because you did a degree in mathematics. I think I'm right.
Yeah, I did my degree in maths while I was playing for Sheffield United, actually, because Sheffield United signed me from Columbia University in America. So I was living in New York when the interest from United came in, and they asked me to sign, but Sheffield University wouldn't accept my the grades that I'd got from one of the top Ivy League schools in the world, and so I had to start again with my studies whilst I played for Sheffield United. So yeah, it was. I always was a little bit worried that, you know, if I didn't make it or if I was I got a bad injury, because I saw a few of my friends get really bad injuries and then all of a sudden nothing to fall back on. So I tried to mix the two and it worked well for me.
Was there a bit of a challenge in the dressing room? Because there can't have been too many of you, particularly in the 80s, as pro footballers with degrees, particularly one that you were completing whilst playing.
No, it wasn't a problem at all. I think once you're in the dressing room, you know, it's part of the banter and what have you. You know, everybody gets a little bit of stick or whatever, and you just give it and take it like everybody else. So yeah, no, there was no problems like that.
You had 5 years at Sheffield United, 2 promotions going up from what was the old 4th division, now League 2, up as far as what is now the Championship. What stands out in terms of your Bramall Lane memories, Steve? Either players you played with or moments in that phase of your career?
Just the whole experience being at Sheffield United was absolutely fantastic. Really, really enjoyed it, under Ian Porterfield, and the 2 promotions were obviously tremendous. The low point of Sheffield United, when we won the 4th division, the old 4th division, but the experience of that season was absolutely tremendous. The supporters were incredible. The players we had around, we had a reunion 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it was fantastic to see a lot of the lads again. We had a really tight dressing room and did really well. I just really enjoyed it at United. I used to be a ball boy at United when I was a kid, and then it was fantastic to eventually play for the club and play in a couple of derbies as well.
And of course, you then moved on here to Wrexham. You captained the club in your 3-season stay, and that included some memorable moments, including a European Cup Winners' Cup tie against Real Zaragoza. What stands out in your memory from that one?
Yeah, that was a really good game. We'd previously beat FC Zurich in Malta. Managed to score in that. That was my only European goal as such. But we won a fairly easy game over there 4-1, and then got drawn against a stronger opponent, Real Zaragoza. We played over there and drew 0-0 over there, which felt like a victory at the time. Brought them back here to the racecourse, and again had another tremendous game against them, and we ended up drawing 2-2, which in this day and age would have seen you go into penalties, but unfortunately in the old rules where away goals count, so we got knocked out on the away goal rule, sadly.
Well, still one of the most famous Wrexham games of the 80s, Steve. Great to have you with us on Matchday Live. Thanks so much for coming to join us. I can see the players are coming out for the second half, so I better let you get back to the director's box. But
thank you.
Thanks for coming, and great to see you on such a poignant day for you, of your two old clubs squaring up. Who's going to win?
I've no idea. My prediction was 4-4, but
that's looking a good prediction.
We'll wait and see.
Thank you, Steve.
See you later.
Steve Charles there, former Sheffield United and Wrexham player, enjoying the game, and his prediction of 4-4, well, there have been worse predictions made. They're out for the second half here. Wrexham 2, Sheffield United 3. Come and join us at the full-time whistle here, back on YouTube, same link, to see how this one finishes. I don't think we've seen the end of the scoring. We'll see you in about 50 minutes' time. Bye for now.
Substitution for Sheffield, doing the field on the 45, after Franklin. He's been replaced by number 23. And then the field on the 44, Joe Regal. He's been replaced by number 18, Jimbo Samara. Leading the field number 10, Calvin Hare. He's been replaced by number 9, Danny Ings. Substitute for Wrexham leading the field, number 33, Nathan Broadhead. He's being replaced by number 20, Ollie Rathbone. Michael Jordan swyddog wedi dod i hyn o'r lle absolut 4 munud ychwanegol. The fourth official has indicated there will be a minimum of 4 minutes, and in time that's 4 minutes. Substitution for Wrexham in the field number 10, Josh Windass. He's being replaced by number 16, Jay Rodriguez. gyd am eich cefnogaeth arbennig heno. Thank you all for your fantastic support. Tonight's final score at the Stoke Kairas: Wrexham 5, Sheffield 3. Bydd yn un nesaf o'r Stoke Kairas ar y nawr o'r Higan o'r Agfyd a erbyn Preston gyda'r gig gyntaf am chwarter I 8. But the mind of the next home game here with Stoke Kairas is on the 29th of December when Preston are visitors for our Sky Bet Championship match, which kicks off at 7:45 p.m. Top Sunola, the official attendance this evening, 10,611. Average backs for 1,247 away supporters. Cyfrwch chwarae fel o'r stadiwm gadwyn y siŵr nesaf a greu bawb a safe journey home to all supporters. Please do take care when leaving the stadium. The front shop is open for 30 minutes after full time, and we'll see you again on Monday. Nos one dda!
Full time at the Stoke Kairas, and Wrexham have completed a quite remarkable turnaround. It's finished Wrexham 5, Sheffield United 3. This is a game, of course, in which Wrexham trailed by 3-1 after 25 breathless minutes. But in the second half, it was all about Phil Parkinson's side as they stormed to victory here, winning for the first time in 6 games and propelling themselves up to 13th in the championship table. You might remember it was 3-2 at the interval, while Wrexham levelled 7 minutes into the second half. George Thomason, who had a hand in 4 of the 5 Wrexham goals, standing the ball up at the far post, and Ryan Longman powering home his second of the season. That brought us back to parity, and 15 minutes from time, Kiefer Moore gave Wrexham a priceless lead against his former club. He banked his second of the game and his 12th of the season. He had plenty to do after an excellent break from midfield from Nathan Broadhead, but Moore, to the right of the goal, slammed the ball across the outstretched dive of Michael Cooper to send the racecourse into raptures. Josh Windass then sealed matters from the penalty spot, the 7th of the season for the man who used to represent United City rivals Wednesday. It was Thomason who was felled, and Windass made no mistake. Tyrese Campbell still had time to hit the bar in the death of injury time, but Wrexham had more than done enough. That 2-goal cushion ensuring the 3 points. An 8-goal thriller then at the racecourse. Wrexham 5, Sheffield United 3. Mia Roberts and Andy Morell have just about got their breath back after that one. Goodness gracious, where on earth to start? Mia, let's start with that second half performance from Wrexham, because we saw certainly evidence in the first half of Wrexham's attacking intent, and my goodness, we saw that in boatloads after the interval.
We absolutely did, and I think that was something, you know, not necessarily I was worried about, but, you know, was sort of thinking about at half-time, are we actually going to see that again in the second half? And I'm so pleased we did, because I think, you know, far too many times this season, and, you know, even once we got the equaliser and then the fourth, you know, to not sit back and continue to attack. And I think that was in this game definitely the best form of defence. You know, I said it on comms, I just wanted us to keep going, and obviously when you get the second, maybe that's when you do sit back a little bit and you've made the substitution, so the game's always going to change. But no, it was just superb. I think it certainly rivals that FA Cup game here, doesn't it, from a few years ago.
Makes that look banal, doesn't it?
Rubbish, yeah. Not worth showing the highlights on that one. But no, a really good night for Wrexham. And, you know, going into this busy period now, I think we said at the top of the show, it's so important you turn things around and pick up momentum. And like I said, I just think this could be another real marker, you know, against a top side. You know, by the way, this wasn't, you know, an easy sort of comeback from that Swansea defeat. So I think they've proven a lot of people wrong tonight. But now the question is, can they keep doing that?
We talked about it at half-time, Andy, being a basketball-style first half. In the second half, we still saw some threat, of course, from Sheffield United, but Wrexham much more in the ascendancy. What changed?
I just thought we were better defensively. We were more solid and we were a lot more in control of the ball when we got it, you know, and that enabled then Thomason to do his thing going forwards rather than having to defend 1v1, which maybe lets him down a little bit playing in that position. It's maybe a weakness for us, but he was able to go and play. And like you say, he's involved in 4 of the goals. I thought he was excellent going forwards and full of energy, you know, and at the last couple of minutes he's still going. I just thought we looked in more control in the second half and we didn't give them those chances to get 1v1. We were able to snap the ball and get the ball back a little bit quicker. And then our quality told. I thought Broadhead was absolutely magnificent today. If he's not got man of the match, I don't know how he's not, because he's been excellent in those pockets. His work rate as well to get the ball back for his team. And then the quality at the end to just find those little passes. I just thought he was brilliant today.
And Kiefer Moore, loving scoring against his former club, so much so he did it twice. 2 excellent finishes, though. I suppose the first, he would back himself to score from a header from close range. But the second, he had a lot to do when he was played through there. And to finish like that across the keeper, really showing his quality.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the pass first, because Broadhead, he gets on the half turn and he's driving at them, but that is to slide it inside the 2 centre halves and the weight of pass be right for Moore to then get onto it, because Moore's not the quickest in comparison to a lot of strikers in this league. He just gets there, but what he does well is he just lifts it off the floor, because the sliding defender is coming with his foot along the floor and he lifts it, which means that it goes flying into the top corner, and it was a beautiful finish. And yeah, you could see he was off celebrating quite quickly after that.
Ryan Longman getting things going at the start of the second half. Mia, that header at the far post. We've talked about George Thomason a little bit today. He had such an impact coming forward, but Longman a really good leap to get there and win that header.
Absolutely, yeah. I thought going forward today he was really good. Probably the best we've seen him so far this season for me. I think, you know, there's still areas of his game he does need to work on. I thought he had a few sort of silly decisions he's made defensively that on another day can cost you, and that result is maybe different, or the scoreline certainly is. But on a whole, I thought he was, you know, at another level to what he has been maybe over the last few weeks. And just to go back on Thomason again, I completely agree with Andy. I think, you know, defensively maybe in that first half he was challenged quite a lot, but I think part of that is because, you know, we weren't able to necessarily keep hold of the ball for long periods. So when he was bombing forward, he was suddenly having to bomb back, and, you know, that takes it out of you when you're playing in that position, and suddenly you're defending and you're not sort of maybe defending as well as you would be when, you know, you've had the ball for a bit longer and you're sort of catching up with yourself. So I think part of that is down to that, but I thought he was superb today. And I think, you know, for Phil Parkinson, I think he would have been a little bit worried about that decision. You know, obviously Kakachi, great to see him back on the bench, but obviously we haven't seen him in this game, so that suggests to me he's not quite fully there. But to now have someone like George Thomason come in, do that role so well, I think that, you know, it takes away a certain worry for me, definitely.
Let's take a look at the full tale of the tape then, the stats from today's game. There was so much to talk about, so much to fit in. Let's see how this manifests in the stats around both attack and defence. Well, we saw at half-time Wrexham had about 10% more possession, and that continued through the second half. 18 shots to 13. That gives you some evidence as to how the game went. I looked at the XG, actually, and it was 2.27 for Wrexham, 1.91 for Sheffield United, which perhaps brings that into question at times as to how accurate that can be as a stat for a game that finishes 5-3. 8 on target for Wrexham, 7 for Sheffield United. Both Okonkwo and Cooper kept interested throughout. 7 corners to 5. If you're a neutral, Andy, there's not much not to like there, is there?
No, well, if you've watched that, I just flipped it on Boxing Day after a couple down the pub, you're absolutely buzzing off it, aren't you? You could see 8 goals and 8 really good goals as well in there. But yeah, you know, what can be labelled at Wrexham this year, I think, is that they're a little bit boring. They don't create too many chances, etc. You know, we're a little bit pragmatic in our defence. But that shows that they are capable of doing it today. And the formation he's gone, I think Phil Parkin's been really brave to go with it and change it up a little bit, get the two boys in the 210s and try and ask a few questions of this Sheffield United team. They certainly did that, and they stood up for Phil Parkinson today, and they've certainly played really, really well.
Yeah, we said it looked a team selection that was there to fight fire with fire. Sheffield United in form and free scoring, and they more than met their match here at the Stoke Kairas. Let's have a look at the defensive statistics, because anyone playing in the two back lines today had a torrid afternoon in trying to fend away the best efforts of the opposition. Sheffield United winning more interceptions, Wrexham making more clearances over the 90 minutes, but significantly ahead in the aerial duels, Mia.
Yeah, I think particularly in the second half, that's probably one that's gone up hugely. I thought, that backline really grew into the game. I think in that first half, it was a little bit more chaotic for them. I think that chaos continued for Sheffield United's backline, but certainly eased for Wrexham's. I thought Callum Doyle again today was really, really good, not just in that backline, but also when he was progressing with the ball. He's just so eager to get forward, and I know that's sometimes, I think a few weeks ago was at the Blackburn game when he's come forward and that's then cost us on the counter. But you can see he wants to do it, and it's that intent that then allows George Thomason that little bit more room, Ben Sheaf a little bit more room, and it just opens things up. And Max Cleworth the same on the other side, and Dom Hyam again in the centre. He's just Mr. Reliable, Mr. Consistent, isn't he? And it just looks like this is the formula. I know it's one game, so let's not get too ahead of ourselves, but it sort of mirrors that Coventry game in the sense that you look at it and you go, right, things are definitely clicking. And we've got the players, you can see that's on show for all. The quality is there. It's just finding that system that works. And I think tonight, I thought every player was exceptional.
Yeah, I think in that second half we were just maybe 4 or 5 yards further up, our back three. We were just a little bit closer to our midfield, less spaces in and around them when we were going in with Hamer and stuff, which enabled us then to get the ball back a little bit quicker to then utilise the ball with our midfielders and our four in that central area. I thought that second half, Phil Parkin must have noticed that at half time and said, can we stay a little bit higher just to condense all the play a little bit and not have those spaces in and around the middle three that we have.
Yeah, you mentioned Gustavo Harmer there, Andy, and of course a key save from Arthur Okonkwo at 4-3. Big shout for a penalty right on the edge of the box. Ryan Longman on Patrick Bamford. First of all, how did you see that? And then secondly, talk a little bit about the save from Okonkwo, because if that goes in, it's 4-4 and 10 minutes still to play. Yeah, well, I think it wasn't a penalty. I think the connection with his knee on heel really was outside the box. He fell into the box, but it's still a free kick. And Arthur does really well because it's very easy to cheat a little bit and try and go to your right and take a step, and that puts you off balance. But he's held his ground and said, if you're going to beat me, you've got to beat me with a wicked one over the wall. And he goes keeper's side and he's able to then save it. Arthur's made 3 really good saves today. Not necessarily key flying ones, but ones where he stood big, made himself big and hard to beat and blocked it. And that'll give him a lot of confidence regarding what happened at Swansea and stuff. He's just back into it, and it looks good for him and his career progressing the way that he's reacted to it and come back with a few really decent saves.
I think as well, just on Arthur, he had that moment of sort of indecisiveness out here with Max that led to actually the long throw where they scored from, and I think that's another moment the crowd were a little bit edgy on him, and especially after Swansea, for a young player, that's not easy to then suddenly get yourself back in the game, and especially relatively early on in the game as well when you've already conceded a couple. So I think he deserves a lot of credit today because, like you say, he made a number of really important saves.
We'll be hearing from Wrexham manager Phil Parkinson very shortly. Let's have a quick scan of the other results though today. Full programme in the Sky Bet Championship this afternoon. There was a lunchtime game and as well a full 3 o'clock programme before tonight's evening offering here at the Stoke Kairas. And let's have a look down the results. Birmingham drawing 1-1 at home to Derby, also finishing all square at the New Den between Millwall and Ipswich. Coventry banking yet another win against Swansea by 1-0. Leicester City's travails continue, beaten at home 2-1 by Watford. Middlesbrough held by Blackburn in the North East. Norwich City with a much needed win against out of form Charlton Athletic by 1-0. Very good win for Oxford United, beating Southampton by 2-1, who had an excellent run, but that progress being checked of late. Portsmouth and QPR all square. A draw for Sheffield Wednesday in their relatively local derby against Yorkshire rivals Hull City. Stoke and Preston, Wrexham's opposition in 3 days' time, a goalless draw there in the Midlands. West Brom beaten at home by Bristol City, who are going well, but by some distance. Game of the day, look at that, Wrexham 5, Sheffield United 3. Well, Southampton were on a fair old roll up the table a few weeks ago, Mia, but their progress well and truly check. What else stands out for you in today's results?
Yeah, Hull was the one that caught my eye a little bit there. I was really impressed by them when we were at their place. I think their manager is a top manager, and they were flying. Ollie McBurney coming back into the side, who's just scoring goals for fun, really. Kyle Joseph as well, doing really well, but halted there again today. So it's just this league, isn't it? We say it every week, but
Watford,
it's just ridiculous.
What was it, Watford at Leicester?
Yeah.
You know, going behind and then beating them 2-1. Oxford sack your manager. You go and get a result at home to Southampton.
So often happens, doesn't it? The immediate kickback. Let's have a look where that leaves then the Sky Bet Championship table, because we know that Wrexham have been able to advance up a couple of places with this home win. Preston North End, of course, next in town in just 3 days' time. 7:45 kick-off. That one will, of course, be here for Match Day Live. So let's have a look at the top of the Championship. Well, Coventry continue to be imperious. They're over the half-century. And we've only just gone past Christmas. Frank Lampard's side looking for all many like promotion certainties. 13 points clear of Ipswich in third place. Middlesbrough are held today, but they retain second position. Bristol City there in sixth place. That's the last playoff position, of course. 36 points from 23 games. And Southampton, after surging up the table after a poor start, dropping down to 12th. Let's have a look then at the bottom of the Sky Bet Championship table, because Wrexham will just tick over into the bottom half. There they are, 13th in the standings, 1-7, drawn 10 and 6 defeats with that 2-goal positive goal difference. 5 points off the last playoff place, 9 clear of the last relegation position. Currently occupied by Portsmouth. They look like one of the sides who might struggle at the start of the season. Sheffield Wednesday all but relegated already, sadly, with all their problems off the field. Norwich City with a win today will be heartened by that as they try and force their way out of the bottom three. Well, we've said all season, Mia, how tight that table is, and if Wrexham can back up today's victory with a similar one against Preston North End in 3 days' time, they're almost certainly going to finish 2025 in the top half.
Yeah, and that's what happens when you get 3 points. I think obviously this team to not have picked up a win in the last 5 since that Bristol City one, I think, you know, it's so important. I know we went on a really good run but had a few just draws in there. You know, the difference it can make sometimes for whether you lose to then get those 3. Sometimes, like Andy said it a few times, would you prefer to actually lose a game and win your next rather than draw both? You know, it's one of them. But, you know, just looking at that table, seeing some of the teams we're ahead of and not far off, you know, when you look at the fact we're obviously ahead of Sheffield United by a number of points now, Leicester, you know, not far off Southampton. If you said that at the start of the season, you wouldn't
halfway through.
You wouldn't think
you're
we were
halfway
14th.
Through and you're above Leicester and you're
exactly.
Above.
So, you know, for me, I think it's a positive. You know, at the start of the day, we're obviously only 7 points off playoffs, a little bit closer to that now, and obviously picked up that win. You know, it's only positive after today. I think obviously there'll be a few questions asked, maybe looked at defensively in that first half, but they addressed that at half-time, didn't they? And they were much better in the second again. So it's absolutely, you know, back in and focus now turns to Preston.
Yeah, we needed to win today, you know, going off the back of a couple of performances that weren't great, but not just to win a game. We've performed really well today. The way that we went about our business, the way that they've gone about attacking the change that they've made into going for this team today rather than just sitting in our shape like we have done and maybe countering a little bit. Credit goes to the staff and the players as well, because it's not easy to bounce back from how it went at Swansea, which wasn't pretty at times, to doing that at home. That'll give them huge confidence, hopefully, over these next couple of games that come fast, to go and pick up another couple of points, and you find yourself then suddenly in January going, oh, hang on, we're not too far off here, are we again?
And finishing the game with a forward line of Rodriguez and Smith. It almost felt like a return to League One for the last 5 minutes.
Well, 5-3 was a take back to National League, 7 5s and 5 alls, wasn't it? So we're having a little bit of a,
and
look back. But great to see Jay back on the pitch. You know, managed to speak to him last week and see him where he was at, and I didn't think he was going to get this, you know, a little bit, a few minutes coming onto the pitch, you know, in a 5-3 victory. But it's great to see him back, one on the grass. Played with a broken foot in the last final games of the season last year to get through, so, you know, credit's got to go to him. And then it went a little bit bad for him over in Australia, but lovely to see him back, and he will add something over these next 2 or 3 games, you know, and running into January. give Kiefer a little bit of a breather. He can play one of those 10s probably off the back as well if needs be. So yeah, really good addition to our team.
I guess the question now may be, having fought fire with fire today by playing the front three, does Phil go the same way against Preston?
Well,
well, you go and tell Windass and Broadhead they're not playing.
Yeah, you'd think it was a decent chance, but Preston very different. Their way of playing is very different to Sheffield United, and I'm sure Phil wouldn't just immediately say, well, this team won this game, therefore I'll pick them for the next one.
No, absolutely not. And obviously fitness levels you have to take into account, see where everyone is at after this game in terms of recovery and everything like that. I thought obviously Thomason, played so well, like we've said, but wow, put in some shift. I'd love to see, his sort of levels after that. But that, I think back to that Preston game not so long ago at their place, and that was a really good game. That was quite end to end really for us to go away and play like that. That was one of the ones where you think, maybe we are going to change our sort of style away from home. I think that's one of the away games where we've had the most shots on target. So I think it'll be interesting them coming here, especially after that. I'd be very surprised if he did change those three.
But I think what you've been saying today is fighting fire with fire. I think why not? Let's go for it. Again, we've got some really good players. We've gone toe-to-toe with a really good team and come out on top today. Let's go for it again and let's push the boat. Let's have a go at this league. Why not? Let's not just keep the shackles on. Break free. Let's go for them.
Just on George Thomason here and the shift he put in, just another little aspect. I was watching the game, stood in this corner, and as George Thomason came over to take a corner late on, there was a short delay, and one of the supporters shouted something to him, I think, put it on the keeper's head. And George Thomason still turned around and said, I'm not so good with my right foot, I'll stick with my left. And I thought, for a guy who's absolutely working his what's-its off at championship level, to have a bit of bants with one of the crowd, I thought that was pretty impressive in the middle of a championship game.
Well, you're 5-3 up, you can do that, can't you? If you're getting beat 3-1, you can't be having banter with the crowd, because I think it'd be a little bit worse than it would be like that. But yeah, he's given everything. He's left it out there on the pitch. You saw a little back heel from Broadhead into his path, and he was like, I'm done here. I'm just going to hang in there for the last couple of minutes. But if every player is giving the amount of effort that he's given today, then you've got a chance of winning football matches.
Sorry, Chris, go on. No, I was just going to say, he'll just want to be in this team as well. I think he looks the type of player to me that he'll sort of say, do you know what, I'll do that job and I'll do that, and I'll just to be in it. And I think we felt that, after he played his first game, I'm pretty sure after that he spoke to us and, just said how involved he wants to be. Obviously, it was a difficult start coming in and picking up a little injury, but to me, like I said, I thought that was a big decision by Phil Parkinson. A lot of pressure on him tonight as well, because that's not easy for him to come in and do that position, which we've spoke about the last few weeks, is so important in how this team plays, and he did it ever so well after having a few difficult moments as well in that first half.
Yep, certainly some shift from George Thomason and from all the Wrexham team today. I know that Wrexham manager Phil Parkinson is fast approaching, so we've got the chance to get his reaction to this afternoon. Well, Phil, congratulations. Yeah. How are you feeling after that? Tired?
Yeah, it's a bit surreal, really, the way the game went, because even at half-time I thought we were playing well. The goals we conceded, can do better, but Bamford's a good player. His movement's top end. That's why he's played at the top level. But we said the lads at half time, we've got to defend the box better, and we did second half. But we believed that if we carried on in the way we were playing, we'd get chances to go and win the game, and they came, and we took them really well.
So much to cover, Phil, but I promise we won't keep you here all night. You touched on the fact that there were changes made in the second half. Yeah. We've just been discussing with Andy and Mia the defensive solidity. Yeah. What were your messages at half-time to tighten that up? Yeah,
just that. It was just being touch tight in the box and knowing you're up against a really good player. And listen, stopping crosses coming in, but make sure we defend the box, which we've been good at recently. And just 2 moments really cost us. Obviously, the long throw, is another moment. But listen, that aside, the general play and the way we played was decent up to the break, but we needed to tidy up in those key areas, which we did, and we felt we could go and win it.
You've managed over 1,000 games, so you'll have seen scenarios like this before, but when you're 3-1 down at home on Boxing Day, how do you feel about that, and what kind of goes through your body?
Yeah, I think that there's different types of games when you're losing. Like tonight we were losing, but I felt it was the goals were going to come for us. I just could feel it on the touchline that we were playing with real quality, and so if you're 3-1 down and you're giving the ball away and people have stopped showing for the ball, then you worry as a manager. But I didn't feel that, because we've got good character in there. You know, Matty and Shifo, you know, they're never going to shy away from receiving the ball, no matter what time of the game it is. And yeah, I thought we showed good character tonight, and we needed to.
You changed the system today. We discussed it as it looked like you were fighting fire with fire. Having gone through the 90 minutes, do you look back on that and say, yeah, I absolutely got this right today and how I wanted to win this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, we looked at Sheffield United and we felt the areas either side of the holding midfield player was areas we could exploit with Windass and Brody, and you know that worked really, really well for us. And obviously putting George Thomas in there was, you know, 2 goals and 2 assists, sorry, and getting the penalty. And I think it's one thing doing it in training, and he has been good in there this week in training, but it's producing it on a high pressure game in front of the cameras, and we've got to give George enormous credit. He played with quality, but he played incredible heart tonight, because it didn't all go his own way at the start, but he just grew into the game, and that's some performance to have 2 assists and win the penalty as well.
Absolutely, Phil. And we'd just been discussing, we actually thought you had a hand in 4 of the 5 goals, because he was, you know, his corner as well that was headed in the cross.
Well, sorry, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's, you know, it's an extraordinary performance, and like I said, you know, he's looked really good. We tried him there a couple of weeks ago, and this week when, you know, we looked at him early in the week, and all the staff, well, you know, he's got all the tools to play there, and it's a huge bonus for us. But you know, he typifies the character you need in a football team, and yeah, midfield or wing back tonight, you know, he played with incredible heart.
The other one we've been talking about just before you joined us, Phil, has been Nathan Broadhead.
Yeah.
Dropping deep, creating, obviously terrific work, making the break, and an inch perfect pass for Kiefer's second.
Yeah, Broadhead's a great player. He's such a talent, you know, he really is, and you know, he's really grown into his role here at the club with us, and I think the important thing for us tonight is that to make sure we had that threat in behind them, and I felt we had good runners. You know, in the first half, Kiefer nearly got in, was flagged offside, and then the space opens up for your Broadies and your Windass to find those spaces, and I felt we got that, executed that really well. But yeah, Brody, I thought his all-round game, and Josh, you know, recovering in the right positions for the second balls, I thought they were really, really good. And then in possession, they were very reliable. You know, I think it's really important for talented players in the middle third to be reliable. In the top third, it's, you know, go and do your stuff. And I felt they did that well tonight.
3 days before the Preston game, does this now become a mix of data and gut on who you think can go again for 90?
Yeah, yeah. I think, you know, we just, you know, I'm so pleased with the boys today, because we gave them yesterday off. We trained 3 days, and there's always an element of risk in that. But I felt there was a real freshness in the group tonight. And, you know, we're now got to think long and hard, like all managers, about the team selection. Kiefer's groin tightened up a little bit. Maxie's got a bit of a problem. But listen, everybody who's out there tonight on the bench will be desperate to be involved, and we'll pick the team and the shape we feel is right to get a result against Preston.
Well, Phil, huge congratulations. It's given you hopefully a big Christmas lift personally. I think you could probably put a whiskey in that tea tonight.
Exactly.
Great win. Fantastic to watch. Phil Parkinson, Wrexham manager, delighted, of course, with his side, who fought back from 3-1 down after 25 kamikaze minutes at the start of this game to turn this match on its head with an assured second-half performance which dominated a Sheffield United team whose recent upturn in form was put to bed at the racecourse. Phil, understandably pleased and looking mixture, Andy, I think, of relieved and delighted.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't ask him at 3-1 down, to put it that way. But
well, I wanted to ask him that, but I mean, you've been in those shoes as a manager.
I completely get it, because there's some games where you go into and you're 2-0 down or you're 1-0 down, and you just don't think you're ever going to look like you're going to get back into a game. But this game today, even though we were 3-1 down, it was like, oh, we're getting half chances. We're still creating a little bit. The players still want the ball, and that's what he's saying, is that I never felt that we were out of this game at all, and especially when you get that second one to go back 3-2 so quickly as well after, you're right, come on then, here we go, we've got a chance, because when the home crowd get behind this team, they can show some real qualities, and that's what the feeling I got when we were commentating, and he was getting the same one on the sideline. It's just, yeah, we're still in this game, we're not out of it at all.
It's going to send a bit of a jolt through the division, I think, Mia, isn't it? Because as Andy says, Wrexham this season largely have been winning games by narrow margins and often have been struggling to score more than once in a game, with some exceptions, of course. But looking down that list of relatively unspectacular Boxing Day scorelines, that's suddenly going to jump off the page, isn't it? A 5-3. Perhaps maybe making other teams think, well, there's another Wrexham there. It's not just a tightened formula, it's an expansive one that you need to be aware of if you're coming up against them.
I think so. I think it'll make sort of, other teams, other fans, whoever sort of look at, maybe that Coventry result, for example, and go, oh, maybe that wasn't just a random Friday night sort of special, that's something that can be replicated and something that Wrexham are looking to do to multiple teams. And, I agree. I think tonight was a real good demonstration that this team are multi-dimensional. They haven't just got that one plan of maybe in the last few weeks we've focused a little bit too much and been too keen to just hit Kiefer Moore early and really use him as the focal point, far too often. I think in the last few weeks, tonight, we were so open to different ideas and just had that bit of creativity and that bit of confidence. I just thought, the likes of Nathan Broadhead and Josh Windass, they just looked like they were just enjoying every second of that game and wanted to get on the ball, whether that was, when they were next to Kiefer or when they dropped off and then wanted to get it deep. I've said it a few times about Nathan Broadhead. When he goes on those runs, he just looks like he's that sort of young lad just on the playground with his mates, just kicking a ball. That's the sort of
ball
feeling.
Glued to his foot.
Absolutely, he just gives me that feeling that he's just takes him back almost, and they just look like they've really enjoyed it again tonight, and you can see that in obviously the celebrations and yeah, I hope they do enjoy it, certainly in there, and hopefully they take that enjoyment and reproduce it again against Preston.
Well, there's a man here who I think might be able to give us an idea of how the dressing room is feeling this evening. Congratulations, George Thomason. Fantastic to see you. Thanks for joining us. Goodness me, you put a shift in tonight. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling on top of the world, to be fair. I don't feel tired at the moment, feel happy. So, no, really pleased with tonight's work, not just from myself, but from everyone. So everyone can go home happy and, prepare for Monday night's game.
When did you know you were going to be playing at left wing back today, George?
I had a little bit of a feeler in there in training and stuff the past week or so, just to get familiar with a few things in and out of possession and stuff like that. So I've had a couple of days to kind of prepare and get my mind around it. And yeah, just went out there today and just tried to do what I knew and kind of perform to the best of my ability.
How often have you played in that position before?
I played there growing up a little bit as a kid and whatnot, but I've not played there since I turned professionally. So it's been a good 5-6 years, yeah. But no, I loved it. Loved being out there. I enjoyed tonight's game, and the lads around me made it really easy and seamless. So every credit to them as well.
3-1 down after 25 minutes. Must have been some tough messages being relayed around the pitch. But what was the feeling amongst the players? Was there any sort of sense of trying to ensure you didn't panic? Because it must be difficult when you're conceding goals like that at home.
Yeah, of course. I actually thought we responded really confidently, and we were all encouraging one another, because I think we could sense that, okay, maybe we conceded a couple of soft goals, but we were playing some good stuff. We were being on the front foot. We were playing with intensity and positivity. And also, I've got to give real credit to the crowd, because it's easy to turn on your team when you go 3-1 down at home early doors, but they stuck with us behind every attack. They were trying to almost force that ball in for us. So I think as a collective, everyone in the stadium here, not only earned the win, but we deserved it as well.
By our maths, you had a hand in 4 of the 5 goals today, George, in different ways. When you look back at the game and the goals that were scored, was there one that stood out that you thought was perhaps more important than the others?
I think all stages in the game, they probably give us a different kind of kick. I think I was most happy with winning the penalty for the 5th, because it almost felt as though it gave us a little bit of breathing space and took a little bit more sting out the game and really solidified the win at that point. But I also thought the first one really gave us belief and a sense of we're going to be on the front foot and really try and dominate tonight's game.
When you look at the different positions you've played for the club so far, you played centre-back, of course, against Cardiff in the Carabao, you've played left of the central 3 and now left wing-back. Which of the positions takes more out of you?
I think they all require different things, to be honest. Whether you're playing at centre-half, I think it can be more of a mental game. You kind of have to stay switched on throughout the full game, because, you never know when there might be a run off your back or whatnot. Playing in midfield kind of feels most natural, because I've done it the most, so kind of know every aspect of the game. But tonight was really really seamless because I had Callum Doe behind me. He was really supportive and, you know, swinging round. He allowed me to be on the front foot. I had Brodie in front of me. He was giving me loads of easy angles to pass him the ball, and, you know, he was brilliant going one-on-one at his man and, you know, picking the right decisions at the right time. So, you know, as much as I can take credit for my own performance, I have to thank everyone around me because they made the transition easy.
When you're trying to link up with your teammates, what changes when you've got both Windass and Broadhead to look for as well as Moore?
Look, we know, you know, the abundance of quality both of those lads kind of possess. You know, maybe at times this season we've been crying out for them to play together a bit more, and for one reason or another it hasn't happened. But tonight I thought they really showed individual quality at different times. You know, they're an attacking outlet. You know, and, you know, and as I say, everyone played their part to a T tonight.
What's the mood like in the dressing room at the moment?
I think you can imagine everyone's buzzing, everyone's happy, but equally we've got to stay humble because it's a really busy period and we've got to go again in a couple of days' time. So we want to back that performance up with another 3 points.
You ready to go again?
Yeah, absolutely.
We look forward to seeing you, hopefully, George, against Preston in 3 days' time. Many, many congratulations for your performance today. Fantastic comeback win.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. George Thomason, Wrexham's left wing back, well, at least today, with an imperious performance down the left flank, involved in 4 of the 5 goals as Wrexham came back from 3-1 down halfway through the first half to storm to a 5-3 victory. And we hope to hear from another of the Wrexham players who played a prominent part today, Kiefer Moore, very shortly. So stay tuned for that. George Thomason obviously delighted with the win. Andy, interesting his comment about Broadhead and Windass perhaps playing more together.
Yeah, absolutely. It just looks how much fun he's had. Do you know what I mean? And like me, I think from that interview, it's exactly what you've said. Is like he's happy to just go and play and just go and be a part of this team and go and give everything for the cause. He looks like he's a bit of a leader like that way, and anything for the team, puts the team first ahead of him. So I'm made up for him. I'm really pleased for him. I thought he was real quality from start to finish. Yes, there's bits that he can brush up on, but let's enjoy for what he's brought today, and that's a top performance.
Well, another man who played a key part today, scored twice against his former club, and he's just going to come and join us now in our pitchside studio in Matchday Live. You don't need me to tell you that man, of course, is Kiefer Moore. Kiefer, huge congratulations on your brace. You must have enjoyed that one today.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. You know, we struggled at moments in the game, but, you know, to come back from 3-1 and win the game 5-3 is incredible, and, you know, every lad to a man is outstanding today.
Your first was a key one, wasn't it, to get that goal back quickly after going 3-1 down. Had you or any of the other sort of more experienced players put a bit of a rallying cry around the team when that third went in?
Nah, not necessarily, because I think whilst we did go 3-1 down, we had good control of the ball, and I think it was all down to our sort of mistakes, really. So, you know, I think it was almost kind of saying, like, let's just keep at it. We will score. And eventually we did, and we kept grinding, and you know, we could sustain attacks, which was really good today. So yeah, we threatened the goal quite a few times, which is good.
Although Arthur had a bit to do in the second half, Kiefer, it was Wrexham very much on top. What do you think was different in the second 45?
I think, like I alluded there, I think we just sustained our attacks a bit more. You know, we'd attack the goal. You know, we rung the box really well, so we picked up the seconds, recirculated the ball, attacked again, and yeah, I think we did that really well, and then when our chances did come, we took them.
Broadhead and Windass in support to you today. How does that change your role?
Yeah, I think for me it's, you know, offers me more support. I have an extra body up around me, and you know, I can, instead of just having one pass, you know, I have multiple, which obviously helps, and it occupies more defenders. So if defenders follow me, there's more space for them. If defenders follow them, more space for me. And I think, like in instances today, we showed that, and yeah, I think as a front three we worked really well.
Your first, a neat header from close range, powering it in, but let's just talk about your second if we can. Nathan Broadhead making that break, a good pass to you, but you still had quite a bit to do on receipt of that ball. What was going through your head as it was coming towards you?
Really, yeah, score.
Simple as that?
Simple as that, yeah. No. So as soon as it rolled across to me, I took one quick glance at the goalkeeper, and I saw him moving across his goal, and I just knew it did kind of come across me, so I know how to wrap my foot around it and aim for that far corner. And yeah, as soon as I saw it hit the net, I was obviously delighted.
And you're 12 for the season now for Wrexham, Kiefer. Did you set yourself an objective at the start as to where you might be at the end of the year?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
You don't have to tell us, but I just wonder if you did.
I did. I won't say, but you know, I set my targets really high. So let's just say I'm on my way there.
That's good. That's good. And in terms of the team dynamic now, you hadn't won in 5 before today. Does that make a very different atmosphere in the dressing room as you look ahead to Preston now? Yeah, definitely. I think, especially coming back from 3-1, you know, we could have easily sunken and lost that game, maybe 3-4, 5. But no, I think it alluded to the character we have in the dressing room, the character we have on the stands, the character from the manager and all the staff, and to keep going, to keep fighting and do everything for this football club. So, no, I think we definitely needed it, but it'll be good momentum for us. Kiefer, huge congratulations on your brace against your former club and going up to 12 goals, and here's hoping for more against Preston in 3 days' time.
Nice one. Cheers,
Thanks for joining us. Kiefer Moore, Wrexham hero today with his 2 goals against his former club, Sheffield United. One with his head and one with his right foot as Wrexham roared back from 3-1 down to win this festive battle by 5 goals to 3. And Kiefer Moore, Mia, he's become a Wrexham hero very quickly, and 12 goals already before the turn of the year. Whatever his objective is, must surely be pleasing to most Wrexham fans, if not all.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he only scored 1 in his last 9. So, he would have been really looking to get on the score sheet a bit more in recent times. And, 2 tonight, that's certainly going to help. And like he says, get him on his way to that mystery objective, which I'm sure he has set very high, because that's what you want to do as a striker. He won't be aiming low. But yeah, again, I think, like we've said, for all of those boys really out there tonight, I thought he was superb. Just his general striker play, I think tonight really stood out for me. And like he says, it does help him having those 2 extra bodies near him, and giving him that other option, because sometimes it has been a bit obvious that the ball's going to go into Kiefer and then he's going to find Windass if he's the only one next to him, and so it asks more questions of those defenders around him, and that can only be a good thing.
I don't care what you say as well, when you're playing your team you've just left as well, and everybody said we'll drive you there and all that. That adds a little bit extra, and they'll be feeling really sweet tonight.
Especially after that pain of playoff final.
And all that, giving the ball away.
On his head, and it would have been a really difficult moment for him. So tonight, as we saw in the celebrations, and I'm sure he'll be delighted with it, and probably celebrate.
All comes back round.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Andy Mear, thank you very much. We shall see you for Preston North End in 3 days' time for another epic championship battle, I'm sure, here at the Stoke Kai Ras. Sheffield United, the informed team, then arrived on Boxing Day, and 25 minutes into this one, the Blades looked sharper than ever. But Wrexham weren't ready to follow that script, roaring back in the second half. Kiefer Moore reminding the visiting supporters of his quality as Phil Parkinson's side rattled home 5 to send the Blades home with nothing. Wrexham up to 13th then. I wonder what comes next when Preston come to town in 72 hours' time. Thanks for joining us here on Match Day Live. Nadolig Llawn, diolch am wylio, and we'll see you very soon for that one. Good night.